Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, That Creepy Reading, and today we're going to be reading a few shit pastas. Yes, I said shit pastas. Now please understand that other people do shit pastas, and this isn't a ripoff of some ordinary gamers. So, with that being said, why don't we take time to enjoy the worst that the creepypasta community has to offer, and begin reading some tales. With that being said, let's begin. Everyone knows about the Slenderman, but did you know that there was actually a game for it? I didn't know, and that was until I saw a local Craigslist post in Gettysburg. The post said about some old Game Boy game about abducting little kids as some tall suited monster. There was no original photo on the post, although here's a photo I took of it before I lost a cart while cleaning out for a garage sale last week. Anyway, back to the game. I was interested in the macabre of Nintendo bootlegs and hacks, so I gave the guy a call, and I asked him how much he wanted for it, since the price was not listed, and he said it was $5 whole. I drove later that day to get the game, and when I arrived at this old spooky house, the man was sitting on the porch with the game in hand, and when I went up to him and said who I am, or was, he smiled. He forced the game into my hands and grabbed the money. I asked him where he got the game. He said in a creepy, raspy voice that one of his friends made the bootleg back in the 80s and early 90s, and that he gave him the game before he was busted. I thought to myself, a bootleg game about Slenderman in the early 90s? This can't be true. He's making up shit. After I walked away, I heard him say under his breath, "Have fun, poor sap." And I paid no heed to this and drove home. Before the game went missing, I dumped it down on my computer, but I lost it. After searching again though, I was able to find the only sprite of Slenderman after a level was completed. When I got home, I saw the game cart was black with nothing on the front. Just a sticker that said, "Do not open," and operator in gray fine tip Sharpie marker on the black casing. When I turned on the game, it booted and it seemed normal. It had a basic title screen with just operator, this time on puke green capital letters of the classic Game Boy, with the start option underneath. However, I did find it interesting that year on the bottom of the screen it did say 1990, when Slenderman or much other creepypastas hadn't been thought up until around a decade later. I dismissed it as a joke and begun playing. Now this is not full of paranormal stuff like other video game stories, no. The game isn't self-aware or possessed, although just how it's programmed could make anyone become a mental out of rage. Right off from the beginning, I was a bit shaken by it. The sprites were so large they were very detailed by Game Boy standards, although the rest of the screen was small. Slendy had long, 8-bit twisting tentacles that he would use when he came close to a kid. He would engulf them around a child. Then a blood-curdling 8-bit screen that was digitized came out of the mono speaker. My ears rang from it, and I started to get a headache, but I still played on. It was repetitive. Walk, snare, scream, kill. Then after about 4 to 5 minutes, the level went black, saying 1-2. Again, it was the same walk, snare, scream, kill. 4 to 5 minutes later, but I still played on. I soon realized that the game was continuous as this, but by the time I went mad, as if I ate pure mercury, enraged by the time and money I wasted on it, I tore the game out and threw it behind a dresser. That night, and ever since, I kept dreaming about that horrible game, and I would always wake up to find the game on top of my dresser, which I would gingerly throw back into the abyss. Back into the abyss. I was never worried about it. I probably pulled it out of my sleep to bitch at it more. And I would always laugh. But just about a week ago, after the town yard sale, I didn't find it behind my dresser or on it. Or behind it or anywhere. I was glad it was out of my life, but I still wondered what happened to it. My mother had said she never took any of my games from my room, but she always lies about stuff like that. And I never sold it. Either way, I was glad it was out of my life. I got back to my normal ways, reading creepypastas, playing Earthbound, and collecting more hacks and rares. Oh dear God. Alright, on to the next one. Journal Entry 1, October 15th, 2013. Last Saturday when I went to GameStop with Shade and Aura to get Pokemon X, I also picked up a used copy of Pokemon Pearl, because I lost my old copy. Until last night, I finally set down Pokemon X for a minute and booted up Pokemon Pearl. I don't think GameStop checked this game because there was something wrong with it. It started with a game save file that had a number instead of a name. The number was 444. I opened it up because I wanted to see if there were any Pokemon in it and something I might want to trade over before I start up a new game. Everything just seems wrong. The player appeared in the bedroom, but it said he had 8 badges already, so I'm assuming the owner sold the game right after beating the championship. The player character is pale and he looks like he has tears in his eyes. I opened up the Pokemon menu and there were only 2 Pokemon in the team. Palkia and Charizard. But the sprites were visibly beaten up. I mean bruised and bleeding. The Palkia was covered in cuts, particularly 3 claw marks on his chest, and the tip of his tail was missing. And I mean missing! And blood was leaking out of the cut off end. It had only 10 HP left. The Charizard was almost all black and blue, and his wings had bloody holes and tears. He had like 50 points. Now, I went downstairs to, to have my mom heal them, but when I went downstairs, things just got worse. All of the furniture was either turned over or out of place. The cushion the mother used to sit on was covered in blood, and the mother laid across it with blood all over her too. I pressed the A button next to her and it simply said, "Mom is dead." This has to either be some weird hack or illegitimate bootleg copy made by someone who is really fucking sick. But if it is just a hack, the game should go back to normal when I restart. So, I went to Sand Gem Town to get a PC and trade over some Pokemon. On the way over there, I noticed that there are no trainers along the way. I remember where some of them were, but there were just splatters of blood where they used to stand, and random splatters of blood on tall grass too. On the way, I ran into a Starly. Palkia quickly defeated it, but it said the wild Starly had died. And when the battle scene ended, the tall grass I was standing in was splattered with, you guessed it, blood. When I arrived at Sand Gem Town, I nearly walked into a character I'd never seen before. He or she was dressed in all black and wore a ninja-like mask, except there were no opening for the eyes. The entire face was just covered in black cloth. How you would be able to tell such a detail, I have no fucking clue. And I didn't just have a chance to talk to it before it disappeared. Shrugging it off, I went to the Pokemon Center. Joy was not joyful to me. "If you insist to make your Pokemon ready to fight again," she said before healing them. Palkia and Charizard looked normal again. Thank goodness. I went through my boxes and traded some Pokemon over. Instead of saying, "take care of the Pokemon," each one I traded over to Soul Silver said, "Blank is happy to be with you." Since that seemed weird, I checked their friendship and traded Pokemon were at the max friendship. So I saved the game and put them down. I'll play more later, I said to myself. I'm going to go search online to see if there's any other known Pokemon games hacked like this. Have any of you guys heard anything like this? Of course we did! Soul Silver. Fuck you. Journal Entry 2, October 22nd, 2013. So after a lot of searching, I found nothing. There is no evidence of this strange character online. No screenshots, no mention of him, no hints that might be referring to him. Nothing! Not even anything about bootlegged game cards of Pokemon Pearl containing their macabre parts in the game. As creepy as all that was, I was hoping of restarting the game and having it return to normal. I was relieved when I started a new game, and I saved it over to 444 file to find a game at the beginning and playing as normal. I was completely and utterly relieved, and I thought of telling you that all was fine since my last journal entry. But things started getting strange again after my first gym battle. When I stepped out of the Oriberg gym, the strange black figure stood near the edge of the screen to the far right. My character got shocked and an exclamation point appeared over his head, though the figure was not in her line of sight at all. Then the figure disappeared as it had before. That's when the colors of the game became duller, and my character became paler. I did a little bit of basic training before going to bed and deciding to challenge my first gym tomorrow. The next morning, I got up to take my dog for the morning walk, but when I opened the door, he tried to run away from it. He usually loves walks. I poked my head outside the door and I saw something that made my heart stop. For the corner of my eye, I saw something standing at the end of the street of the block, a figure dressed in all black and the eyeless ninja hood. When I turned to look directly at it, vanished. I want to stop playing, and I really do. As much as I want to stay away from it, though, it's like something's compelling me, and I don't like it. After the second gym, the shadow figure appeared again, a little closer this time, after its appearance in the trees started losing their leaves, and the music became slightly distorted. That night, I saw a shadow figure outside of my window, standing down in the street light. A little closer than it was before. A car drove directly towards it, but it did not see it. The figure did not move. Right when the car was about to hit it, it vanished again. The next day, I lost the first battle of the game to my rival. It seemed tougher than it should have had. I spent the whole day beefing up my Pokemon just so I could beat him, so I made no real progress that day. The day before yesterday, I woke up again in pain. My back really hurted. I turned my back to the mirror and found a long, straight bruise along my back. Like I had been beaten with a rod or something. As much as I want to smash the game with my dad's sledgehammer, as much as I want to make a fire out in the yard and throw it in, as much as I want to destroy it in any way possible, I can't. If I try to harm it or break it in any way, I just can't. My hands won't obey me, and I still can't stop playing it, no matter how much I want to. With each gym I beat, the figure gets a little bit closer, both in game and in real life. If I fail to make progress, I wake up with bruising. I try to screw around in the game and avoid progress and stall the figure, but every time I fail to make progress, my injuries get worse. I couldn't find a receipt, so I tried taking it back to GameStop, offering it for trade-in value, but they wouldn't take it. They refused to give me a reason. They just wouldn't take it. Now I'm on the 5th gym now. What do? The thing is cursed. Journey entry 3. God, give me strength. Journal entry 3. October 30th, 2013. After the 5th gym, I had no choice but to continue playing. The music became more distorted, the characters grew either sad or afraid, and all the trees became bare and bloody spots all over the place. Like the ones I talked about in the 444 file started appearing again. Speaking of 444, after beating the 7th gym, saving my game, I came back to later to find that the file 444 replaced mine. Thinking it was some type of glitch that... Are you kidding? Oh, I'm sorry. Thinking it was some kind of glitch and that I was freed because I no longer had the save file, I opened it up to make sure it was so. But no, indeed, it was my game. Wah, wah, wah. The file had changed again. I know it's obvious, but I don't think the game's last owner named their file 444 either. After the final gym, the next time I went back to my house, I found my mother character dead on the floor, covered in blood. When I walked up to her to press A, it simply said, "Mom's dead." That's when tears appeared in my character's eyes. I beat the last gym a few nights ago, and that figure was inside of my house. It was in my living room, standing in the door. I had to get rid of it somehow, but the thought occurred in my mind, and finally occurred to me that destroying the game may unleash the evil contained within. I tried to take it out and bury it, but when I tried to leave, I found myself digging it up and playing it that night. This thing has too much of a hold on me for me to get rid of it myself, so I gave mine to a friend and told her not to play it and just lock it in a box and get rid of it somewhere where it'll never be found. Haven't seen the figure or haven't been bruised again since that time. She told me she put it in a metal box between a bunch of rocks and then took the box into the middle of a nearby lake and threw it in. Hopefully this will be the last I see that cursed Pokemon Pearl game card again. That thing will never be able to hurt anyone again, ever, because it will never see the light of day again. I just hope she told me the truth and didn't play the damn game. And for our final pasta, I was 12 years old when I got Pokemon Y and wrote the story. I was grinding the heck out of it, and I played it whenever I could. But let's not skip ahead, of course. There is always a start. The intro is pretty funny, with Fletching scaring the crap out of your character while he's in bed. Kind of a rough start. I had to skip through all that intro junk though, and spat out of my mom and nerdy friends' rivals. There were 5 rivals, no kidding! They were easier than expected though. I picked my Froakie for my starter, and murdered my rival's Chespin and Finnegan with ease. I went on and I managed to get a Charizard with Mega, Swalot, and a Lapras and Lucario with Meta. I also got a Wyveta and Ludicolo, the ultimate Mexican stereotype. Of course, I had to kick someone out of my party, and that lucky someone was Greninja, my first ever Pokemon. I never see him anymore. Even with a level 80 Charizard and Lucario for backup, I could not get past that pesky Elite Four. Most of the blame landed on that old lady who's obsessed with dragons, and that girl who's a water user. Between you and me, I always thought that she knew I had fire. My Ludicolo couldn't help because he barely even had levels. In fact, I pretty much only caught Lumbre with him because I would get Ludicolo's Pokedex entry. Still, the little dancing lily pad always cheers me up with its derpy little dance. Like I said, I could not get past these Elite Four. Because of this, I was just trying to fill my Pokedex as much as possible. So I decided to go to Lavier City Trail, or whatever it was called, and on Route 14. The swamp that features the scary house, you know. All I could find, though, was a Hunter and Carvine, though. And all I could see was annoying Poliwhirls that live practically everywhere, with an occasional Wishcash and Bellsprout hordes. Then, I came upon the spooky house. I had been there before, and I was listening to the scary story that always haunt you. It actually was quite funny. It was like a dumb ripoff of Slenderman, the horrid of Faceless Man. Who do I think I am? A 12-year-old? Wait a minute. Anyway, I decided to go into a scary house just to be a butthole, running around the man sitting in the bed and making fart noises and other infantile things. Once he stepped in, all was pitch black. There was a very faint circle of light coming from the refrigerator. I walked over there, and then the lights came on. I could see a familiar deep purple scenery of the cabin, but something struck me as odd. There was a shadow next to where the bed was, showing that touching it would mean an attack from a flying Pokemon, or a Graveler in a cave. Thinking that there might be an undiscovered Pokemon waiting there, I walked over to the shadow, and then I heard groaning noises. I saw 4 white hands coming out of the ground at the corner of my character as they closed in, and then finally, the battle begun. Then I was thinking to myself, this better be some sort of ghost legendary, I snarked. The introductions like that usually meant the battle of a super rare Pokemon. I saw an all too familiar face once the shadow finally cleared to show the Pokemon. This makes you think, This sometimes makes you think you see different Pokemon when you see a regular one instead, humiliating you. This happened to me one time when I saw a shadow that looks like a fat person. I thought it was a new Pokemon. Once the shadows cleared, it showed that I was looking at the nose of a Hippotas. Back to the battle. I saw a 3D L-shaped player machete-esque figure, and dotted with purple and black. And before I go on, I am trying to read this word for word, but reading it word for word kind of makes it make no sense. So sorry if this is kind of hard to understand. Trust me, I am not understanding it too. And then the game said, Wild appeared. MissingNo. I saw its glitchy body rock back and forth for its idle animation. Every now and again, the thinner section would shiver a little. I threw out Charizard, and I instantly Mega Evolved it, and it decided to obliterate it with a Heat Wave, and it didn't even have a level. Charizard Mega Evolved to Mega Charizard. The sunlight turned harsh. Charizard Drought ability. Charizard use Heat Wave. It doesn't affect the wild. Use Infestation. What the? How does this blob of ugly barf and infestation? I'd expect it to use something like Phantom Rush or something like that. I saw this gray bug swarm over my Pokemon, harming it. It's super effective. No kidding, it's like half of my HP was depleted. I was trash if this guy was that strong. Charizard used Struggle. What? He didn't even know how to do that. And his PP was completely full. It hurt itself in recoil. His health was in the red zone. Used Rage. I know why he was doing so. He was mad at my Charizard that he did not fail yet. Let frustration take over him. What? I doubt this can even happen. Then I saw a cutscene. It had my Mega Charizard covered in insects all over part of his body, and it started eating away at his flesh. Then a large butcher knife was thrown at him, bouncing off of his throat and landing on his chest, impaling itself in his lung. Of course, it sliced the jugular vein, and it was enough to kill my poor Pokemon. Then, the knife took itself out of Charizard. Oh my god, what in the fuck am I reading? Still, with his battered heart chomped onto it. The knife then shakes around, throwing the organ off to the side. Then, what happens is like a snuff scene. You mean like a snuff movie? A stuff movie? I'm sorry, I'm trying to stay in character. Fuck. The knife repeatedly jabbed itself into Charizard's corpse, throwing its organs everywhere. Blood was puddling under what I thought was left of it, and then it stopped dissecting him. And what I saw nearly made me vomit, as in so much of these shit pastas. The cheese mix munchies I had earlier, it was just a pile of red, bleeding mush, with Charizard's head stacked on top of it. The one of his eyes was dangling out of its socket, so the cut retina was visible, and its tongue was cut off and sitting on top of his head. Then, I did vomit the munchies. What the fuck? I paused this hell of a game to clean up my disgusting orange mess. Later, when I mustered up the courage to continue playing and prepared my stomach, I opened the console. I had switched my Pokemon. There was no blame mess, just a regular MissingNo rocking side to side, almost miserably. Then I tossed out Lucario. I used Power Punch on it. Your determination makes you more deadly. What the freak now? I know this never happens. Use Curse. Another cutscene played of Lucario. Then a nail came out of nowhere and impaled himself on his left eye. He screamed out a high-pitched cry and attempted to pull the... I fucking hate this story. And pull the thing out. It was stuck. Then a giant sledgehammer flew over, and you probably know what happened next. It results in half of his whole head becoming smashed. And then the eye was intact. Brain matter everywhere on the dark purple floor. Oh god, this is just shit. The nail was shown on the floor, the sharp part bent over in a rather unusual way. I nearly vomited again, because I've never played Gears of War. Virtually there was a snuff mutilation film for every Pokemon I use, and I tried to destroy this abomination. Swallow was cut open and spewing acid everywhere, and flattening him. Lapras had his head messily cut off and smashed inside of his stomach. Yevida was dissected alive. Ludicolo has to be the worst of them because he was a Mexican stereotype. A gigantic anvil dropped on top of him like something out of Looney Tunes and, well, splat blood organs and crushed his head. I went back to the overworld. The house owner went face to face with me. Not my character on screen. He was breaking the fourth wall like Pinkie Pie. You should have... Okay. You should have had care about me, demon. Oh my gosh. I really should have given the poor money, some non-needed money. Then there was a colossal picture and somehow fit in my 3D screen and all sick of my Pokemon corpses. I vomited again. Yellow-orange mess everywhere. Thankfully, I obscured the disgusting image and destroyed that hellish cartridge. I decided to give the stupid things bits of its own medicine. I went crazy with knives and anvils and where the fuck does this 12-year-old kid get an anvil? I mean, like, are they just like at every corner store? Jesus. Fucking hell. Okay, back to reading. Then I went to chemistry class the next day and sneaked into the storage room and threw the possessed tape onto a large bottle of hydrochloric acid, and gave me great pleasure to see this devil tape melt into a blob of gold and black. If you see MissingNo in the scary house, destroy the tape, make it not exist, make sure nobody finds it. If you can bury it at least 6 feet deep, and fill that hole with water. And that was the shittiest pasta I ever read. Alright, why don't we start with our first pasta, Slenderman the game. Now, not only is the story kinda bad, full of cliches such as the guy who speaks with the raspy voice forces him to think and then says something creepy under his breath, all that shit, and like, that's just cliches, number one. But the thing that pisses me off about this story, and really pisses me off, is this quote right here. Now, this is not full of paranormal stuff like video game stories. The game isn't self-aware or possessed, but then goes on to say, oh, my ears start ringing because of this and that, and then every night ever since that I started having nightmares. Oh my gosh. I just realized that this story is shit. And then, of course, the thing randomly appears on his dresser, and then randomly disappears, and that's the issue with that one. It was a possible concept that wasn't fully realized. I mean, like, again, anything with Slenderman nowadays isn't really creepy at all, but you get the idea. Now, why don't we go on to Pokemon Cursed Pearl. Now, when it came to Pokemon Cursed Pearl, it was... okay, not at all better than the fucking Slenderman story. Now, the Slenderman had like 1 or 2 cliches in there, even though it claimed to not. This one was awful. Just awful. Yes, just shit. And, essentially, what this thing says is that it's like done like, say 1999 is with the individual journal entries. But it's not nearly as good. It's full of cliches. There is a masked figure that comes out of the game to hunt him down. The idea that GameStop won't take a game back even though it's in policy that they physically cannot deny it unless if the game is broken or something like that. The fact that, there's like blood stains everywhere and Pokemon are dying and then the fact that the character can't destroy it or do anything or even stop playing. I mean, like, any normal person would stop playing the game after the first playthrough. right? No, this guy just continues to go on, even though everything's like all fucked up and weird. And then he continues to do that, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna give it to my friend because she's never gonna play it because, you know, only sane people would believe me word for word. Ooh, okay. And then we get onto the magnum opus of shitpastas. MissingNo in the 6th gen. The person who is in the story is 12 years old, so I'm assuming the person who wrote it was probably 12 years old. The writing is awful. Simple as that. I can barely read the story. The overuse of blood, gore is not scary, but annoying and not really good. There is just so much awful shit on here. The fact that the character cannot even get through the Elite Four because, I don't know, he can't, who can't get through the Elite Four with level 80s? I mean, like, I haven't played a new gen, don't get me wrong, but when I played Pearl version, they were only level 50, and I could easily blaze through with, like, one Pokemon, and all I needed was Groundon. And that was extremely easy. And all that fun shit. So, anyway, the character goes into the fun, magical events of explaining each of his actions like the game would, and that does not get boring or old or anything like that. And, yeah, oh my gosh, okay, the writing's bad. It's over cliched. The character explains, I love Pokemon, why, and this and that, and it takes you out of the realism. Oh my god, this game, this story makes me want to commit ritual suicide every time I look at it. Dear God. Okay, so what do I have to say about each story? For the Slenderman one, the Slender game, don't make it be about Slenderman. Take all the shit out with the, I don't know, like, randomly appearing and disappearing game and nightmares, because that's a cliche all of its own. Take out the old man, and maybe you'll have a half-decent story. Okay, Pokemon Cursed Pearl. I kind of like the idea. It does kind of play with nostalgia, but then you fuck it all up with all the blood happening too early, and the journal entries only serve to make it not work. Because the thing is that this is on a wiki, you know, it's one story. This isn't continuously updated. This is just, oh, I'm gonna throw journal entry because other people think it's cool, you know, and take that out, and yeah, stop with the characters that come out of the game, or make it a creepypasta where it's an actual villain, you know. You know, Sonic.exe. It's done that so many times before that you don't even know. And as for MissingNo in the 6th gen, just fuck this story, rewrite it. Don't know what? Fuck it. Don't even rewrite this. Let this thing die in a pit. Okay. Don't even. We don't need creepypastas about modern games. Okay, because it's too early for them to be hacked. It's too, you know, well known. The internet's already around, so there's no way you can say, oh, this happened to me because I'm a special little snowflake. God. So yeah, just burn it, bury it in the ground, and let's pretend it never existed. Okay, this has been that creepy reading, and my editor for this video is blame it on George, because he is a fucking fantastic favorite, not Mexican stereotype. Have a good day, everyone.